of Miss April Mason's talking point, because Miss April mentioned that men were abusive in the 1940s and 50s. And this young lady had commented very similar talking points. And I'll post a comment right here as I read. If you guys haven't already, please go ahead and hit that like button. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button to know the comment read. Read your history, young lady. A man of any race could legally beat their woman until the laws were changed in the 70s. I was born in 67. How does Miss Mason explain what she saw her mother experience equate to shaming all men? To answer the question, all right, how Miss Mason explain what she saw equate to shaming all men, because we're still bringing it up. It's 2021. If we want to move forward, if we want to see better, we want to do better, we're going to have to enter relationships with men in good faith. We can't enter relationships thinking of what men in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s did. We can't enter relationships holding that over our men in 2021. And this is a narrative, this is a talking point that so many women push back on. So many women.
All right. So there's some logical discrepancies here, right? If you take her logic to the extreme, right? Let's ignore contemporary America, right? Let's say that the men who were abusive were only abusive in the 1940s and the 1950s. If you are unable to bring it up now as justification for your action, in the same way, slavery would never be brought up ever again, right? It seems a bit hypocritical, but also illogical to ignore the fact that the past has a tremendous impact on the present, and how we address issues in the present day, right? How we address those things might require a deep investment in understanding what happened in the past, right? So it makes no sense to me that the conclusion would be that women should ignore what happens in the 1940s and the 1950s because these were not the men. Even if that were true, what we would know is there is a potential for bad treatment. Therefore, if you want to secure, whether that be your physical security, financial security, intellectual security, if you want to secure yourself, right, you are going to have to invest in a way to be independent outside of a man, right? Particularly in today's society.
Say it again.
Right?
Say it
So
again.
it makes no sense to me that the argument here seems to be, right, because they were abusive then, doesn't mean you should do anything about it now, right? All right. Yeah, I think her reasoning is literally flawed. It's flawed on its face. That's what I'm pointing out, because it's actually flawed way beyond its face, right? Because we're going to talk a little bit more about abuse in a moment. The logic ignores that men of the 40s and 50s are the models their grandsons want to be like, and Black femicide was not a thing in the... If you want to compare people, you might not want to do it between the 1940s, 1950s, and, I don't know, let's say 2020, which was when the FBI report came out. We're going to get there in a moment.
That's
Give
right.
me a
Get
second.
Get there.
Oh, by the way, I'm missing a lot of people, so welcome. I'm trying to read the comments, watch the tape, and everything at this all at once, so I apologize.
Who claim that they're not feminists, claim that they want to do better and see more two-parent households in the Black community. The same grace that we expect our men to give us is the same grace that we're supposed to give them. These men that we have here in 2021 weren't the ones that was beating their wives in the 40s and 50s. And just like how we want to learn from our ancestors' mistakes, we want to learn from our parents' mistakes and not repeat those patterns. Let's give these Black men the same grace and assume that they too want to learn. I'm not arguing if men were abusive or not. There's some argument that says, you know, the feminist movement, when they talk about patriarchy, they weren't even talking about Black men because Black men weren't abusing their house.
By the way, this is not true. The scholarship on this point is, I want to say non-existent, but because it's not real scholarship. Men, not just Black men, white men, Asian men, men were abusive to women who were essentially property. Like, let's be clear.
Exactly.
Until the 19th Amendment, like, no, I'm not doing this. No, I'm not doing a history lesson. It's not going to happen today. What is the whole anti-feminist movement? I think people want to create a straw man that is easily easy to debate, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
in their attempt
And
to
it's worth
do that,
money.
feminism, at least fourth wave feminism, is an easy target, right? Because of sort of how ostentatious and in your face it is. When you broad stroke feminism, you ignore the benefit. Let's be very, very clear on this. Without the feminist movement and the push for women in employment, for example, men would not be able to sustain a one income household. Like, inflation is at 7% today. Like, that just came out. Like, the fact that we keep talking about the world as if we are still in the 1950s is absolutely absurd. That women can engage in the workforce, that they have equal rights, means that they also have equal responsibility in taking care of the family and the community. Like, that is a good thing. The patriarchy is not just detrimental to women; it is also detrimental to men. Right? Like, these rigid rules under which we operate about what men can and cannot do aren't helpful. They were toxic. They remain toxic. And if you are a man who say you don't want any gold digger, right, then you should acknowledge that you're a feminist, because honestly, women who could not engage in the labor force literally had to depend on a man for financial resources that they don't have to now is part of feminism. Like, oh my God. Let's continue.
Their wives, black men weren't doing the same thing in their household that these white men were doing. This video is not to talk about that point. What I'm discussing is the mindset that we as black women enter into these relationships. We enter these relationships with our guards up because the men in the 40s and 50s used to be their wives. And then we have people like Miss April Mason who's teaching these women, oh, be successful, secure your bags, have your own, because the men in the 40s and 50s were abusive. What the hell does that have to do with the men in the 2021? All right, and I had a caller last night on my live stream who mentioned the same thing. Regardless of how we got here, regardless of why the was put in place, it's clearly not working. All right, black women, only 1 in 4 of us are getting married. There are less and less two-parent households in the black community. Single-parent household is on the rise in the black community, and the statistics show that a person who's born in a single-parent household is less likely to be as successful as a person who's born in a two-parent household. So we really need to start focusing on getting to the solution. We need to start highlighting why we got here. If you want to claim it's because of patriarchy, if you want to claim it's because of the 1940s and the 1950s, why we got here, we are here now, and it's not working. Let's brainstorm a solution. Constantly see comments like this one the young lady left, and constantly see people like Miss April Mason draw for these excuses. It's annoying, right? If we want to get to the vessel, if we want to better ourselves, we need to stop looking behind us, stop being victim. Shout out to Anton Daniels. He talks about victim Olympics a lot. Too many of us in our community just want to cry victim and want to talk about what happened, why we're like this. Let's start focusing on the solution. Let's start brainstorming solutions. Let's start doing things different so we can get different, better results, right?
All right. So I saw this video. Let's start focusing on solutions, she says. The issue is, you need to know what is
Miss
wrong,
Molly,
what
get
is
over
causing
here.
the issue. Like,
I see you.
You have to diagnose the problem. We aren't even agreeing about what is happening today. Like, we literally aren't agreeing. So I saw the video, right? And I watched it, and she coincidentally, and I thought this was a sign from the universe, went live. I'm not subscribed to her, but she went live and it popped up for me.
I know the feeling.
I was like, all right, maybe Dean is the person who is subscribed to her over here, so our channels are kind of linked, I guess. And she went live, so I went on. And let's listen. I hate hearing my own voice. I apologize for this. Let's listen to the conversation between her and I and someone else. And when I say people are in the comment section dragging, they were dragging me. I got called every name in the book. But I thought it was fascinating because I didn't do anything outlandish. Like, all right, let's play it. Let me stop qualifying and priming you guys so you guys can do this.
Recently, I was made aware of this.
Humans, we don't do stuff. We don't do stuff when we have a bunch of options. We only do it when we're in a do or die situation. And for us, that's men and women, to start really seriously thinking about marriage and relationships, we're going to have to lose a whole lot to the point where we have to get married because we are in a do or die situation. And hey, I kept it short. Everybody enjoy yourselves. Have a great, what is it?
Tuesday.
Have a great week. Happy holidays. Take care.
Jack, sure, I love it. I love it. Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for your patience. Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
Doing well, how are you?
I'm doing well. What are your thoughts?
So I come from a sort of a different perspective on this. Right? I don't think the past is irrelevant insofar as I think it informs the present. Right? When it comes to the quote unquote problem of the Black community, I think if you look to the 1940s and the 1950s as a person who's deeply interested in history, I could go on and on about how that would inform the present. But very recently, I was made aware of an idea called Black femicide, and I kind of brushed it off. But then I had to write a report from the FBI, which indicated last year, I was going to say yesterday, last year that every 6 hours a Black woman was killed, so 4 Black women per day. So I think framing the conversation in the 1940s and the 1950s ignores present day sort of trauma, and then it goes on to say 60% of Black women have experienced domestic violence, and 63%, sorry. And so I don't have a stats in front of me, so I apologize. But it's I don't think, I don't know who April is, I don't really care to sort of investigate the conversation, but I do recognize that there is some importance in a woman being able to provide for herself in connection to a man. And then to the extent that we're talking about inflation in the contemporary world, a one-income household is not going to be taxed. Right?
Most definitely. And I 100%. The thing, and I think you misunderstood the purpose of this live stream. I am not against women being successful, women having income, women
Yes,
supporting
you are.
financially in the household.
Yes, you are.
What I am against is women being successful because men were abusive. So we have to protect ourselves and secure our body. It put men and the Black community at an unfortunate position, because as a man entering a relationship with a woman who is expecting you to be abusive based on what the narrative from back in the day said, it's detrimental. And we need to change that narrative if we want to see better in the Black community. If we want to start seeing more two-parent household, men are no longer putting up with that. Men are no longer putting up with being accountable for actions of men in the past. So in order, I'm not saying that history is irrelevant. History is important, yes. And I'm not here to argue if men were abusive or not. The purpose of this video is if men were abusive in 1450.
But someone said I'm confused. No, it is confusing. It is extremely confusing because she kept going back to the 1940s and 1950s when I very specifically said in 2020, right, we had the report regarding Black femicide. We had the report regarding Black femicide, whereby every 6 hour Black woman was killed. That is 4 Black women per day, right? And so the question then becomes, is it that we're talking about a narrative in the 1940s and the 1950s, or are there real concerns now about the safety of Black women and how they can secure safety for themselves, right? Sorry, I want to read this. Demas, I don't believe you should be offended by people who will undoubtedly need your service soon. Black Eye. It wasn't me. Yeah. So I was very confused because, well, let's continue. I didn't mean to interrupt. I wanted to respond to that comment, but yeah, I'm very confused by her stance too.
And 40s, the 1950s and 40s, not anymore. All right, and even if they are, no, let us not choose to date the ones that are abusing.
Lady, please.
The notion that it is a narrative, as a black man, I appreciate it, but it's not in the past. It's not in the distant past. In 2020, again, 4 black women were killed per day. Like, this is
Okay,
what I'm talking about.
Question. Wait, hold on, Rico. In an effort to keep it short, what is the solution? What solution are you bringing by saying that? What's your solution?
So in terms of solution, I think it's a two-pronged process. On one hand, we have to acknowledge that there are some malfeasance in our community, and how we address that is going to be really taking a serious look at both men and women and the practical implication of sort of interaction. Right, that's the very philosophical approach. On the second front, it is going to be about how do we figure out independence in relationships. Is it appropriate? Because you said we were not against women being successful, thankfully that's a good thing. But what does that mean in terms of if there is a case, who gets to step out and lie? Because I think the notion of that people are bringing up, don't know her again, but there's to the extent you can stand on your own and you're not utterly dependent on that, then the decision to leave when you're in a abusive relationship becomes much more practical. I hope that makes sense.
I do. So you said 4 women per day were killed. Let's just say if we take that statistic as absolute fact, right? Even though it has nothing to do with modern marriages and things like that, and
How does 4 women being killed per day not have anything to do with modern marriages? Oh, wait, you didn't realize that I was talking about specifically DV, right? You didn't understand that we were talking about sort of interpersonal relationship. We were just talking about the article where women who were pregnant were, you know what? Actually, let's continue. Themis, can you restate your stance? Yeah, I was saying that when it comes to women being independent, it is good because they are not going to be utterly dependent on a man, right? You can still be in a relationship as a woman, even if you can financially provide for yourself. However, if that relationship becomes abusive, your ability to stand on your own is important, it is good, and it is ultimately useful. It is also practical, right? Whereas maybe people stayed in relationships in the past, right? Because women weren't able to engage in the market in the way that they can today. And I thought that was a great solution, right? She kept going back. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what she was saying. This guy who was talking annoyed me. I actually had in front of me the stats, and I was just like, I'm not going to do it with him. But he then went to something legal, and I was so ready, and then he left. He just kind of upped and left. I don't know.
When you come on the show, Themis?
I'll talk about echo
come on
chambers
our show
in a
now.
moment.
I want to talk to you.
And the problems with echo chamber, because
don't forget to check out
when you
Themis.
have a kind of opinion that doesn't get challenged, you are stuck believing it, and then you are faced with criticism, and then you don't know how to stand in it. She rushes me off, which obviously you can do, it's your channel, but I think it was out of an unwillingness to engage. But let's continue, because I do find this weird. Oh, by the way, if you're here for all the timekeepers, there's not a 2-hour limit tonight. We are going to run it until we are all exhausted. I'm kidding.
Being submissive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let's just say if we take that into fact, how many black women live in America?
Well, we have a 13% of the population is made up of black people.
Right. So 13% of about 400 million is what?
It's actually
I think 40 something. I can't take the math right now.
whatever.
Yeah, so it's about 52 million black people, meaning that half of that
No.
would be, about 26 million black females. Half of that, 13 million black adult women. Now, of that, 4 are being affected. Are you saying that we should change the entire marriage structure?
He just said of all the women in the world, only 4 is being affected. Should we change the structure to appease them, those 4? I did not say 4 women. I said 4 women per day in a year, right? Now multiply that by 365 and you would get the actual number. Since you wanted to be a mathematician, I would have hoped you would have done that, but you didn't. But he's going to ask me a policy question, and this is one of the things in law school that I was very good at, which is answering from a policy perspective. So here we go.
Relationship structure for 4 people out of 13 million? Is that what you're saying?
That is a rhetorical straw man.
Excuse me. There weren't any straw men in this because I wasn't talking about individuals. I was bringing up the numbers. So once again, should we change the life and culture of millions of? Excuse me. Should we change the life and culture of millions of people because of the 4 that's affected? How many people die?
Again, he keeps saying, should we change the policies and whatever because of 4 women? And it's like, who are you talking to? What are you responding to? Like, literally, the number 4 comes up per day. Like, I literally am very much confused. But he's going to ask for a policy prescription, and then he won't let me finish. But let me explain what I was going to say. So let's continue.
On the freeway due to car accidents. Should we give it a freeway?
Yes, and they would change the policies on the street to prevent deaths that are preventable. We are not talking about restructuring society based on 1 or 2 people.
Yes, you are.
No, it's not. It's not saying 4 people are dying.
Okay, I gotta go. Thank you.
Okay.
He just literally left. All right. So his question essentially is, if I could Iron Man his argument was that if only a few people were dying on the street, right, due to car accident, would we restructure the way we do driving to prevent those deaths? The answer is yes, we have done it. We have employed, like, I don't know why he used car accidents. I don't know why he used that, because like that was so easy. And I was so ready, and he just go, I gotta go. I don't know why you have to go, because I had your answer. First and foremost, a speed limit, right? We have the speed limit. They actually impose mandatory seat belts, right? Like, you can't drink and drive. Like, you might not have wanted to use whatever it is that you just did. And I'm getting ready. I told him it was a rhetorical straw man because it was, but then he minimized the fact that 4 women were being killed per day. And these 2 women, for the life of me, I don't understand how. Yeah, someone said texting, right? I don't understand how, but they were kind of there mad at me for sort of this. I am perplexed. Now she actually, let's play it, because not only do they dismiss the fact that women were dying, right? And this is a checkmate. This is a political, it is a rhetorical checkmate, right? You cannot at all talk about abuse in the community being in the 1950s and 1940s without running up against 2020, where 4 women were killed per day. Like, you just can't. And not only that, men were also being killed, right? So we don't have to ignore that. But right now, the conversation is about domestic violence and why it is that women should engage in the marketplace to create for themselves their own kind of independence through financial resources. Makes sense to me when you run up against these stats. Like, that makes sense. All right, so sorry. I found this absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I'm not even going to tell you guys where I was while I was doing this, because I was not prepared for this live stream. I just saw it and I was like, this is God, so I'm going to go on. And I'm not even that religious. Let's continue.
I wanted to say something very crucial. When it pertains to this topic, it's very, very, very important that certain things are explained. So especially even when Chris was on, I had to ask him intricate questions to explain what he's saying, because we are very accountable of the things that we say, especially pertaining to these topics on our platform. Okay, so when he's saying like, oh yeah, the men walked in and they probably had a rough day, that's alluding to what Ms. Mason was saying, right? So we need to clarify certain things. It's very, very important. But also, I believe this conversation has gotten to kind of like gone down this road of if it happened or didn't happen, or the reason why it happened.
Nope, it did not. No one is questioning.
No, it did not.
It happened.
Mm-hmm.
I am saying it happens.
Mm-hmm.
The FBI is saying it happened. Everyone is saying it happens. No one is questioning that. I don't know why you're reframing. No one is telling you if it happened, whether it happened, when it happened. Nope, I gave you all those answers. So I don't understand what you're doing. I think this is an attempt to dismiss what is happening. But anyway, let's continue.
Protecting our women and protecting them against men, right? And that's not what the conversation was solely about, because we've never negated the fact that domestic violence is still prevalent today. Just like how.
Nope, you guys did. Essentially, like the video saying, holding men accountable for the 40s and 50s, right? In your title, let me make this big. You are saying what women are doing today is holding men accountable for the 40s and 50s. What I am saying is no, you don't have to go back to the 40s and 50s. You can look what is happening now. And we have the report from 2020. So, come again? Like literally come again?
Come again.
Was back then. What is the big difference, though? The big difference is that if it was as rampant as people were saying is that it was before, and right now the numbers that I'm sorry, I can't see the name because of the super chat, but as he just said, I'm sorry, sir, but as you just said, the biggest difference is that women were married before and they're not now.
And then what?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, let's just continue.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that. In focusing on solution, in putting these fear-based narratives in women's head, women who want
fear-based narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get. All right, let's continue.
want to get married. Women and men who also want to get married, men who want to start families and work together so we can see better in the Black community. Putting these fear-based narratives and these fear-based statistics in their head. I'm not the type of woman to hit a man. I'm dating a man who's not the type of man to hit me.
Right.
I'm not concerned about the numbers or anything. I focus on me. I become the best version of myself. He focuses on himself. He becomes the best version. Together we form a two-parent household and positively impact the Black community. I don't have to go out here spreading, in the 1940s and 50s men were abusive, or 1 in 4 women get this, or I don't have to be spreading that narrative, because that's not the narrative I want to pass on to future generations. I respect you for coming up here. Thank you so much for coming up.
That's not the narrative. All right, wait, it's not done. I do ask a question.
Here, I always say I use my channel to be solution based. I identify the problem because it's necessary to identify the problem, the reason behind the problem, all those things. But are we going to sit here and this?
All right, I'm gonna pause you again. Did you guys not hear me give a two-prong solution to the problem? She literally thought that I was just there to complain, and she asked if I had a solution. I gave her a two-part solution, right? And she is pretending now as if I didn't. Now, you can disagree. You can say my solution was bad, but you don't get to say I did not provide a response in terms of solution. So I didn't just quit. I did ask a question. So let's go. Oh, by the way, she doesn't give a solution, even though whatever. Let me continue.
Discuss the problem. 6, 4, 5 hours live. People discussing the problem, and not one can we say, hey, let's talk about the solution.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming up.
May I ask a question before you?
Can 30 seconds.
Yeah. You said what do you think the problem is when we talk about this?
I respect.
All right. I asked her what she thought the problem was when it comes to abuse.
Everybody loves them, party. Everybody loves them. Stop. Everybody love them women.
Respectfully, cannot get into that. I'm so sorry. I was not expecting to be up here for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Respectfully, can't get into that.
Thank you so much.
She's so stupid.
She says, I respectfully cannot get into that. I mean, all right. I don't know what to do with that. I found this hugely fascinating on many fronts, and I started thinking, actually, this interaction, no hate to her, do her thing. I think for women who want to get married at sort of whatever cost, right, and not take care of your financial resources, like, if you believe in a two-parent household without any caveat to that, like a good two-parent household, a good marriage, a loving relation, like if you care about those kinds of things, then oh my God. All right, wait, sorry. Foreign man in foreign land. So I don't think you know this because I don't think we have ever interacted, but you are legit one of my favorite channels. He covers Caribbean sort of stuff and stereotypes in media also. I forgot the last video I just watched of yours. It was about all your mishaps when you men 19 per day and black men 25 per day, right? The question is, what percent of the American population is made up of black women versus white women, right? Now, if you can do that as a proportion of the population, you will realize that when you compare white women and black women are more vulnerable, right? All right. Then he goes on to say black men are the most victimized. All right. This is true. The question again is why, right? And we get to these weird discussion about the good black man versus the bad black man and all of that stuff. And I think there's some validity to this, but like we as a community have to think about it. Like when we talk about police brutality, something that I cover a lot, right? And how horrible it is, right? I recognize that police brutality is different than black people, quote unquote, black and black crime, right? When we hear racist, shove that in our face, we know fundamentally that that is a problem. So it is strange to me for a black person, a man, to come and say, well, don't talk about black femicide because more black men are being killed. Okay, ask yourself why. Why are black men being killed? The sense that you're going to come back and like all life matter is essentially what you're saying. If they truly believe in their rhetoric, they would welcome pushback. Yeah, I mean, that's how I believe that. Literally, at least that's literally how I feel. But any other time, the notion that people are addressing, right, that are addressing death and that they're addressing victimization, right? If you feel like you have to push back because, I don't know, black men are being killed more, then that's the problem. Also, if you go to the report, a lot of the people, I don't want to do this. I promised someone that I would not be hard on black men specifically, because I don't want it to feel like people to feel like, oh, I'm just hateful towards black men because I am a black man and I am not. But we have to be real about why people are engaging in certain kinds of behavior, and a more robust discussion will have at its core the system, right? People who engage in criminal behavior tend to do so, not always, right? But to access resources, we know that crime runs with poverty. So the more impoverished a community is, the more you will see crime there. The next question then, logical question, follows is why is a community the way that it is? And if we keep peeling back, we ultimately, I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, get back to the system. Now, the system does not tell you that you need to go and gun down someone, right? But when we think about the kind of culture that is facilitated, when we think about the music that is promoted, when we think about even going back so far as to say redlining, which is not going that far back, right? When we think about education system being tied to property tax, we understand that we live in a society that creates really bad outcomes, and I say create specifically for Black people, like we do. But if we are staying on the surface, which we always do, unfortunately, you don't get to pretend like the way Black men are being killed is similar to how Black women are being killed. They are not the same. They are not the same. You can read up the stats on how Black men are dying. Then you can read on the stats on how Black women are dying. And you will find out that the number is so much higher for Black men because a lot of these criminal activities that take place include the people who are killing each other. It does not mean they should be disregarded. It does mean they need help. It does mean we have a responsibility to uplift our community. All of that can be and is, from my perspective, true. But to liken that to the Black women who are not, and they are still being killed, not involved in those activities, and being killed is absolutely absurd. The pregnant women being shot, and I wanted to put this article out, but I don't want to, I feel like there's a lot of negativity already, right? So at some point, right, at some point, we have to accept that the narrative in the Black community that we need to protect Black men, I'm not saying to stop it, I don't really care. But when we say protect Black women, this is what you're talking about, because these are the women who, these are the people who are not engaged in the kinds of behavior that puts them at out there to be shot, right? And it does bother me that in talking about Black femicide, that men feel the need to come out and say, well, men are dying too. Like, the fact that you can see how that is similar to when people say Black Lives Matter and everyone comes out and say all lives matter, blue lives matter. The fact that you can see how that is similar literally makes no sense to me. Like, it absolutely makes no sense to me. Before I move on to talk about the Black woman in luxury, I am going to invite people up because I know this is one place that was
and I don't usually watch that, but we'll find out.
And I am ready to talk to people who disagreed. How can anyone ask, what does Black femicide rate have to do with DV? Like, it has everything, if not mostly, due to, yeah, that literally impossible. This is literally my problem. Like, I don't understand how we create and understand all this trauma, yet we ignore it in order to push a narrative, right? Now, there is something to be said about the writing around Black femicide, because even the scholars, and this bothered me a lot when I was reading it, right? The scholars were pointing out that talking about Black women being killed, right? How that is essentially hard to do because it removes the energy from the broader, quote unquote, protect black men from the police narrative that is being pushed. I don't think it should. And when people say, "Oh, only 8 black men were killed," I'm like, only? That is too much for me, right? And when we talk about use of force, this was factored for people who were not aggressive. That is a problem. And when we have state-sanctioned killing, I don't care where you stand on the political aisle, I'm going to always have a problem with that. I'm literally going to have a problem with that. But I'm also going to have a problem within the culture, right? Interracial killing is going to be a problem for me too. But I recognize when people say black and black crime, black and black killing, right, in response to me talking about police brutality, that is not the time I'm going to engage with that person, because I feel like that is disingenuous. And that's all I need to do. If I feel like you're engaging in bad faith, I have no obligation to continue to engage with you. Hey, how are you? You're on mute.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, speak ahead
Yes.
now.
Hello, my darling. How are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Can you turn
I'm-
me down in the back? I think I'm echoing.
Oh, sure. Let me give it a shot.
Let me
Is that
see.
a little better?
Yeah, that's perfect, actually. I can't hear it at all.
Oh, okay. I'm kind of just sitting back for a second. I'm still kind of listening and engaging about the topic at hand, but I just wanted to say a few words on the Black women and luxury topic. But
Oh, all right.
I'm just gonna sit in the back.
We're gonna get there now, actually.
No rush.
See, it's such an interesting thing, because everyone has so much to say, right, when they're commenting, and now with the opportunity to come up and speak, no one who had so much to say is willing to come up and speak. So, I mean, that's just weird. Timothy, you cannot understand because you see women as human beings, right? Right.
I hope Adrian gets up and speak. He's had some bangers lately.
Right? The idea is that black women are told again and again to wait until black men have changed society so they can bring us along. But that would be 30 generations of waiting, if they ever do, if we ever do. All right, summary.
Hello. So here's my thoughts on the whole women wanting to step back from fighting for their own freedoms. I feel it's I always get irked by whenever Black women are like, "Oh, we don't need to be feminists." All the rights we have is because of feminists. I mean, I understand the whole womanist versus feminist argument.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, there's womanism is more for considering the intersections between being a woman and being Black, which I understand. But at the same time, we shouldn't fight feminists. Feminists shouldn't be labeled with.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Orange pill. I'm going to say this to you now. If you come up here, you might regret it. You might actually regret it. I am still going to extend an invite to you. I'm going to. In 2020, 1,440 Black women were murder victims. Right? Of the Black women population of about 22 million, that's around 0.00065% of the population. Does that number require you and others to put all this fear of Black men? Continue, Samri.
So yeah, the whole argument by Black women saying, "Oh, we should just like get rid of feminism," is wrong, because we have all these rights because of feminists. And then the other argument is, so there's an article, I think by the Daily Mail, about how the leading cause of Black women getting killed is when they get pregnant. So when they get pregnant, their chances of getting killed increases. So which means, which tells me that the same people that are killing Black women are, so basically they're being killed by Black men. So they get pregnant by Black men and then they get killed by their future baby daddies. And it seems like Black women are desperate to keep giving immortality to a group of men who don't want to have immortality. Like, they don't want to have babies, stop having babies with them. I don't know. Like, it's also patriarchy, which makes women feel like in order to be more feminine, you need to have babies.
Exactly.
And also everyone's, our fear is of dying. So we want to have kids. We want people who look like us. We want 401ks and retirement plans as a form of babies. But all those reasons are illogical in my mind. We need to have like better reasons for having babies, and being child free should be a good option for a lot of Black women. And
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was listening, and I accept most of that, particularly regarding the patriarchy and its impact. My mind was a bit preoccupied because I was hoping that the orange pill comes on. But since he's not coming on, let me just say it now. The fact that people who actually think about police brutality and how dangerous and detrimental police brutality is would fix their mouth to make the comment that he just made is absolutely disgusting. It is, if you think that over 1,000 people being killed per day is not a cause for concern because it is a small percentage of the overall population in your mind, right? Then we can also talk about police brutality. The thing is, as a Black man, I don't engage in those foolish games. Like, I recognize that police brutality is still a problem. One Black man or woman being killed by the police, unreasonably killed by the police, is one too many. And I would never say some foolishness like that about police brutality. And that was 8 people. We are talking about over 1,000 Black women, and you fix your face to write that comment, you are absolutely disgusting for it. Like, the fact that you would write that, you put it in a super chat because you wanted the recognition. So here you go. This is the recognition you seek. The fact that you would minimize something like that is abhorrent. Unless you are willing to minimize police brutality, you don't get to speak. Yogo, I think you had something. Not Yogo, Autumn. Yogo just added, and let me add Z. We're gonna just do one quick round on this, and understand why your comment was downplaying the death of Black women.
No. Get him.
All right, so you don't understand it.
Get him. Get him.
Okay. So what you characterize as downplaying is when I'm actually just giving the numbers on how
All right.
people should move.
Stop.
Okay.
Why?
Stopping every 5 seconds.
Yeah. Why are you giving the number then?
Because it. Can I?
Yeah, I'm just gonna give you.
Okay.
No. Wait, stop. I just want before you go, Z. I'll let you go ahead, Orangeville. Why did you give the number?
Because it puts it more in a perspective of trying to make something like to generalize. Because what happens is when you say 1 in 4 black women. Oh no, not 1 in 4 black women. Every you say every hour.
Every 6 hours, a black woman is killed last year.
Okay. Because so what happens is it makes the issue, which is an issue for sure, into a general kind of. It makes it, you generalize it and inflate it, and it kind of make it seem like it is something that needs to be like a super reaction needs to be happen to it.
All right. So you do realize, so you don't want the super reaction to be happening.
See, I do realize that I want what?
So you do not want a super reaction to happen.
Well, it depends on what the reaction is. What is? Okay, so with that being said,
wait. I'm using your words. You said it is the way I talk about it makes it overinflated. So you are diminishing it. If you think it's overinflated, you are trying to make it not as big, right? That's diminishing.
Yeah, it is. What you're saying is overinflated. Yes.
Right. So you were attempting to diminish what I was saying.
Duh.
I'm diminishing the reaction, not diminishing that it happens to black women.
Oh God.
So you are.
You're saying
it's diminished. That's what I'm trying to get at.
He tired.
Like
the reaction is diminished. Not that it happens to black women. The reaction, how is generalized into what. So what I'm going to make sure I get correct though is what do you want black women to do with the facts about this every six hours a black woman's killed? What do you want them to do with that information?
I'll answer your question, then I'll ask you why.
Okay.
It means that black women have to be aware that this could happen. Right? And that it is not just a completely safe environment that they're in. And they need to probably take precautions in interactions, not to say everyone is bad, but to take precautions in certain interactions, right? That's important. What I want from you is what should the reaction be? If me saying every 4 hours, this is the stats. If me just saying the stats, right? Like I have not prescribed anything until you just asked, right? If me saying the stats is too much, it's too inflated by merely stating the facts, what should happen? Like, what should the reaction have been? What should the reaction have been?
The reaction should be, first of all, where are these, when we say every 6 hours, I would say where are these happening at? Are these certain sectors of certain communities, or is it a socioeconomic aspect to it? Or we're just gonna say, well, watch every black man you're dating. Like, what do you want to say to this?
Ask me that question. Ask me the question.
Ask you that question.
Where is this
happening? Yeah, is there socioeconomic correlation to this? Like, is it saying, okay, one every 6? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So on one hand, yes, there is a socioeconomic relationship to it. The truth, however, is most of us are not doing well. So saying that it is people who are experiencing poverty, not completely, but mostly who engage in this kind of behavior does not only exclude a very small amount of people. So your next question is what? Where is it happening? All over the United States. All right. So now you have both questions answered. How should we react?
That was general. No, you still didn't give it. You said okay, all over the United States. But my thing is,
it is happening all over the United States where Black people are concentrated.
Okay. All right. I think you need to put more. My thing is that if you're going to say a statement like that, you have to put some more specifics. Like even the article that kind of said all this, it didn't really say anything about there was certain causes or causation like that. They didn't say, oh, it's from their domestic partners and all this stuff. It didn't really give any direct. But I think what happens when you say certain things like that, like, oh, one every 6 hours, you don't.
Stop. I provided multiple links. First, the first link I provided was about people killing people based on proximity to them. The next link was about domestic violence and Black women experiencing it more than every race of other women.
Thank you.
Right? The next link was about Black men killing each other. The next link was about Black men killing Black women. Now, there's some Black women who are being killed by people other than Black men. Yes, I provided those links and stats. So again, had you read through all of my links, you would have come to the conclusion, like I did, that there is a problem that we need to fix in the Black community. But you did not ask any of those questions in your comment. You minimized the fact that Black women were being killed by pointing out how de minimis the actual percentage is. You literally put 0.0 something percent, right?
Yeah.
To diminish the fact that Black women will be killed. Do you not see how that's the problem? Like, you are here asking all these questions, and I am trying to be as graceful to you as I can, but I need you to also accept that what you have done is diminish the experience of Black women who were killed.
Exactly.
First of all, when I said those numbers, right, I gave you those numbers, and did you see what I said after that? I didn't say anything about these numbers mean that there's no real issue here. I said, does it mean that we have to have all this fear about Black men? I did not say in those numbers about diminishing. Like, these numbers mean that there's no real problem. Did I say there was any real problem based on these numbers? Did I say that?
Really quick, sorry, Amos, there's no need to yell orange pill. We're right here. Just letting you know. That's it.
Okay, he's just yelling at me, so okay.
No, but okay, gotcha.
I appreciate you.
All right,
I appreciate you. He was just yelling at me, but okay, I got you. But I'm not trying to do like a give and grab. I'm just saying, okay, I've been calming myself down. So.
No, the thing is, like, even you saying he's just yelling at me, but you're not trying. It's okay to try and say, yeah, he's yelling, so I get to yell back. Like, it's okay to say that, and I'm saying, and I would say, oh, it's my channel, and then you would say, okay, so you can yell and I can't yell, and I'm like, okay, fair enough, let's all not yell. But at least stand in your truth, because you, with your chest,
I am standing in my truth. You just don't want to agree with it. You still want to. I'm telling you what my truth is. You just don't agree with it. If that's okay.
You wrote a comment. And
yes, you feel as though.
Huh?
Yes.
A reasonable person reading your comment would come to the conclusion that you were diminishing the death of those people because it wasn't enough to cause the reaction that we're having. You came on, I asked you if you were diminishing it. You said you didn't understand what that meant. I provided some clarity and you said,
they won't give it to me.
Diminishing it. Then you went on to explain how you were actually diminishing it.
They're not giving it to me.
Okay. So I went on to explain how I was diminishing it in regards to, did I say that? Okay.
So inflated. You said you're not.
I said I said you were generalizing. You were inflating an issue. You were inflating. You were making it a bigger, even though it is a bad issue, but the reaction was the inflation, not the issue itself. I told you that. I told you that the reaction was inflated, but not the problem. I told you.
You do realize everything.
They won't let me get it.
About my reaction seems
they won't let me get it. It's King P, right?
The
they won't give it to me.
Research.
And I asked you the facts and numbers, but you think this wrong.
No. Yeah,
I gave you numbers, you gave me numbers. My numbers are wrong, yours are good. Yours are more understandable. So can you explain that to me?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
When I am speaking about Black people being killed and you reduced it to the percentage of the population, you are essentially telling us that that is not enough people to care about or to respond the way that they're responding. You admit.
Yep, I'm gonna have to catch this tomorrow.
That you were reacting to the response that we gave to the research, except I have not reacted to the research yet. I only stated the research. So
I got
saying, why are you
they won't give it to me.
You give me numbers. You gave me numbers.
They won't give it to me over my computer.
Numbers. Like you were trying to essentially contextualize for us what the number for people being killed, for Black women being killed each day meant. And it wasn't significant enough for
reaction,
which was only pointing out research.
Put it in there.
The reaction that you want, the reaction that a lot of people are having to those numbers is what I take issue with, not the problem. I keep telling you that, but you want something else. I don't know what you want.
You keep saying it's a reaction. There has not been a reaction yet. We have literally been stating the research.
Okay, so what should Black women should what? What is the reaction? What should Black women do with this?
You asked that question before, asked and answered. Asked and answered.
First of all, I've given you my answer to. First of all, when I gave you those numbers, are those numbers not true, what I said?
The question is not about whether or not the numbers were true.
If they're statement of fact, then
no.
I mentioned the means I'm undermining?
Yes. And you came up here and explained how you were undermining. You said it was too inflated. You said that. You said the reaction was too much. It was too general. We have not reacted yet. We stated
Charlie
what
is
was
live
happening
too.
in the research, and you came out and you had a problem with the research. Like essentially, you came up to fight the research because no one. I hadn't reacted yet.
Oh, you hadn't reacted yet? So what is your reaction to the number? What's your reaction to the numbers then? What is your reaction?
Nope, I ain't got Charlie neither.
Disgusting. That's my reaction.
It's disgusting?
Yeah.
Okay, so my thing is that it's disgusting and like I said, your reaction is disgusting, therefore what should Black women do?
We asked and answered.
What's your answer?
I asked and answered. You should have been listening when you asked it the first time.
So Black women should move forward. That's all. So Black women should just move more carefully, I guess. Do you want to give any more direction other than that?
They won't give it to me. They bums.
We have to start being honest. You don't actually care about what I have to say, right? And the reason I know you don't care is because you've asked this question, I've explained the answer, and you're still trying to engage in a rhetorical sort of combat with me, a combat that you will lose because you came up essentially diminishing something, and instead of standing in that truth and diminish it, you might have had an argument, right? The fact that you are distancing yourself from that which you did means you don't.
Not distancing. Nope.
Yeah, it means you don't have solid ground to enter the debate because you said, unless you are willing to say the number is minuscule, you cannot engage in a debate. Because now,
first of all, I told you. Okay, go ahead.
At the end, please come in.
I told you what the numbers meant to me.
Orangebell, please, you'll get your time to speak after Deanne. Go ahead, Deanne.
Good evening, everyone. I've listened, and I'm glad that I had something else to do before this began. It gave me a little bit of a chance to bring my blood pressure back down, and bring myself into a calm frame of mind. Let the record show something. 4 Black women per day. To attempt to make that a percentage puts one on the level of Joseph Stalin, who said one death is a tragedy. A million is a statistic. You put statistics around numbers, and they cease to be seen as human beings. They're just numbers. And 1,440 women a year does not look that big next to 13% of the population. But that is a crime against every single woman that there is involved, who is a fully fledged human being. I'll just give you one number. I have, let me, if I were murdered, 2 parents, a sister, no children, but 100 children who are affected by my life. What's that number now? Connected to the one person whose life's going to be damaged. That's 1 Black woman. 500 senior citizens, $150 million worth of things that are trying to be held on to the Black community. So for the murder of 1 Black woman, that would have happened to me, it would damage 5 generations of Black people, ranging age from 93 down to 2 years old. Multiply $150 million, 625 people, multiplied by 1,440
She live too. Damn, they better give me
per
her.
year. What year is this? Black people have been in America since the 1500s. Multiply that number out. But I'm not going to make you do that. 625
Where you at,
times
Shishi?
1,440 for just 20 years.
KJ, Charlie.
Let's think about that for just a second. What we're not going to do going into 2022 is play these games with these stats. Every Black woman is a living soul that God made. The murder of even one unrepentant would be cause enough for eternal damnation.
They're not giving me none of them.
And that goes for every other human being that there is, but everybody else is not the topic right now. And furthermore, since Black women have been free since 1865, I would just like to know, in closing, who gets to determine our reaction to the death of our sisters, our mothers, our aunts, our daughters, our children, and our friends is too much. The last time I checked, Black women have not had a master since June 19th, 1865. Now, if you were a member of the Choctaw Nation, maybe you got away since 1866. And if you were in South Carolina, the Union Army had to go get some Black children out of slavery in 1867. Let the record show Black women have not had a master for 155 years. So I don't know who thinks they can come up here and tell us how we should be reacting when the death of even one of us affects the lives of hundreds of people who go through their lives dealing with this loss. We're not going to say, but it's only one person compared to however many Black women there are, compared to ever many women there are. We're not going to do that.
I have a
We
question.
wouldn't do that because again, if this was about Black men, we have marched in the streets, we have been in the way of death and murder and state violence for one man, George Floyd. A whole lot of money has moved and time has moved for one man. So we're not going to pretend.
Deanne, I have a question regarding this that you just brought up. Do you think it's an overreaction?
Come on, Charlie. The only one I could find for tonight, damn it. Get your Wi-Fi fixed. Bigo has been so cheap. I know. I found Charlie, and Charlie now his Wi-Fi messed up. I found Charlie ass, and now his Wi-Fi messed up. Nope. They doing me dirty. Now, Boss Lady could. That could Boss Lady watching it instead of all of us watching it. But we'll get to see it tomorrow. I'll get to see it tomorrow.
How we react to police violence against black men?
No, because
No,
everything I
not
just
to
said.
you. Not to you. To Orange Pill. I want it on record, and I will repost his answer all over social media. Do you think it is an overreaction, the way in which we advocate for black men because of police violence?
No, it's not an overreaction.
All right, thank you. The issue, I will not repost that. I hope you can film and marinate sort of on that kind of hypocrisy. And the reason I point this out to is I know for a fact, because we had this debate where you did not believe that every 6 hours a black woman was killed. I remember you not believing that and you saying, oh, now that I learned that this is significant, this is bad. And now for you to come back and sort of retract all of what I thought was growth seems odd to me. Aris says the issue is one that's been going on for too long. People try to normalize any amount of violence against black women and their children, like we should not be alarmed. The inaction is a problem. Agreed. Alyssa says, Timothy is lost in the conversation and his mic is extremely loud. I think that's probably why it sounds like he's yelling so often. The luxury conversation is about to happen momentarily. So I misspelled Mike. I figured. Sorry, I'm trying to get the super chat. If the cops were killing 4 black men per day, Orange Pill would be. I mean, they're only killing 8, and he said, and I say only because I'm trying to use his rhetorical point. And he just agreed that was the reaction where people actually marching out in the street is not an overreach. We are only talking about the fact that black femicide is a thing to the extent we accept it, and that's an overreach. So pardon me. Demus, I know he's kicked off the stage, but Imani addressed
we'll get it tomorrow. Don't worry about it.
In the community like Zach Stacy, most of us know it's a shame. I mean, to see Dean, I know I'm not that far out, because to see Dean say, okay, yeah, black femicide is a problem, to hear other men who don't generally agree with me on here say, yeah, they won't cape for the percentage you threw out, makes me comfortable. Like that's a good thing. Lack of mathematical literacy is common in the black community. His response has exhibited that. All right. Let me do this. We're going to go to the Black woman in luxury, but I think there are some people who wanted to add to the conversation. Let's start with Impossible. You've been on for a while. I'm still here. I just got something I need to pick up, so I'm going to be off screen for 2 seconds. Go ahead, Impossible. And then Jay then Concern. Impossible, Jay then Concern. I apologize. This is super unprofessional, but I have to be disappearing for 2 seconds.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say, Orange Pill, brother, like you have to understand that with the broaching of the statistical data about black femicide, I don't think Themis ever at any point suggested that statistical data was then an occasion to say black women need to fear black men as if we're all these demons or something like that. Because I believe that was your gripe in your super chat comment. No one's saying that black women must now fear black men as though we're just all out to get them. But he was bringing up the fact about black femicide in order to suggest the importance of black female independence, financial independence. That way they're not ever caught in a situation where they are financially, or when it comes to resources, dependent upon a man who very well could be abusive to them. Because when someone has the freedom via financial independence to move out of a particularly abusive situation, then that lessens the likelihood that this will reach a fatal point. It's the same way when we, as a black community, speak on police brutality, as many people have already brought up, the fact that police brutality is an issue that we should take seriously. And I've heard many conservatives actually speak with the same kind of rhetoric that you're speaking of to diminish, like, say, for instance, the Black Lives Matter movement or any other similar movement, which is saying, oh, only 8 or however small amount of black people were shot and killed by the police last year, but 19 white people were killed by the police last year, and nobody's talking about that. It's like, yeah, this is ignoring a lot of context, especially about the fact that white people make up the majority, far and away the majority of the American population, and therefore the fact that black people are actually kind of not that far behind them in terms of police fatalities is a very morbid thing, because that means that we are killed by the police at a higher rate. Nonetheless, the point that I'm making is one such solution, one solution that many black leaders have posited toward fighting against systemic racism, against police brutality, against state violence, stuff like that, is black independence. Many people talk about how we need to support black businesses, we need to invest in our communities, we need to do things that will make us more independent and take control of our own destiny, and that is true. In the same way, I don't think Themis was ever suggesting, oh, black femicide is a real thing, therefore black women just need to fear and cower before black men or anything like that. No, he was saying that black female independence is something that can help in the face of black femicide. He was not trying to say that black men are evil. He was saying that black women need to have the opportunity and the opportunity and the ability to do for themselves. And it's not to say that I don't even think that's at all suggesting some form of separation between us and between us black men and black women, because it's like, yeah, black women should be independent, black men should be independent, and we can come together in relationships where it's two people that are not what's the word? I think the word is codependent. Where we're not I'm sorry, my words are escaping me. Where we cannot do without the other in some sort of toxic kind of way, because then that leverages power too much to one side. So in the same way, if a man is making all the money and is the financial and economic center of a relationship, to the point that a black woman is utterly dependent upon him, if that black man is in any way abusive, then she is trapped. So my point is, and I think this is Themis' point, is that when Black women are more financially independent, then they have a better position against certain things like Black femicide or against any form of abuse from Black men.
Yeah.
Right? That's all I wanted to say. And it's like because when you speak that way, what you're doing is you're speaking. You said that we are not overreacting when we react to police violence. If that be the case, if you can say that, then I think it must bear out logically. If we're keeping the logic consistent, it must bear out with you that if we're being intellectually honest, that the issue of Black femicide must be taken this seriously. It's not an overreaction to bring this up in the conversation of Black female independence and how it relates to Black femicide. So
I love that you call back to the response to his response to police brutality. That's why I asked. I thought he was going to say it was an overreaction in a way to win his point, but he didn't. Let's go to Jay Concern. Yeah, Jay, you're on mute. Concerned?
So my reaction is first about derailing the conversation. This was very much an all lives matter type move. The reason why is because all lives matter is meant to diminish the reality of the conversation about Black Lives Matter, as Impossible just noted. And so when you think about being a provider, being a protector, being the men in our life, these are the moments where you betray us and you lose the credibility to be a leader, because this is not protecting us. This is gaslighting us so that we can be lambs for the slaughter. This is not providing for us. This is asking us to take away from ourselves and be more, again, susceptible and less focused on our safety because of your special interests. In these short-sighted moves, you betray not only us but yourself, because why would any reasonable human being believe that they should be submissive to a person that would say things like this that have so many implications? Because again, I do not believe Black men are terrible people, but you're trying to hold a position of leadership, and you are absolutely I can't even think of the word. You're trying to hold a position of leadership, but it's almost like dictatorship or something like that, because in reality you're not trying to have people thriving, you're trying to have people under your thumb. Why would you come on this channel? Why would you come on this stage and try to derail Black women being seen, heard, and safe? That's insane.
Yeah. Jay,
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay, Orange Pill, we're all talking to you now, but I think it's good that you're listening, right? So yeah, just like Possible said, just like Concern said, this is very important, okay? And I think I know what happened. You ran to the defense of Black men because you were afraid that Black men were being portrayed a certain way, so you're protective, right? But the problem is when you run in that way, you do run the risk of being insensitive, which is exactly what happened here, right? You were insensitive to the experience of Black women in that moment, okay? And you know that anything other than natural causes for death usually requires investigation. So if you have Black women being killed other than natural causes, that is a problem. Same thing for Black men. So I think after everyone has spoken to you now, you kind of understand where everyone is coming from and what the problem is. Don't fear having these conversations, because it is going to make our community stronger, which is what we're all going for, right? So that's all I had to say.
Wait, I actually want to hear your response to that, Orange Pill.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do appreciate the feedback from everybody on this. One thing was is impossible nation, nothing impossible, nothing.
Impossible is fine.
I think I get like what happens is that when I say this is like the conversation we had Timus where I was talking about value versus addition or whatever. As far as a woman's education, kind of like that stirred a lot of stuff. It's impossible. It was just kind of weird where, and this is not me calling you out, just kind of like clarification where you were talking about how we're not trying to look at black men as the boogeyman, but then the next sentence was women should be independent because just in case of abuse or something like that, she have her own stuff going on. I'm a black man, so it's like they did that just kind of like.
Wait, can you explain?
No.
I swear that's what you said. That's what I'm saying. You said that in the next breath. Okay, go ahead.
How is that? How is it inconsistent though? Like,
You can say that we're not saying all these things out of saying the black man is bad, but the black woman should have her stuff together, her own stuff. Okay, go ahead.
Someone is saying something in the background. Can we not?
I think it might be Orange Pill, actually.
Yeah, let me shut the door.
Oh, no.
I can respond to that.
Anthony.
Yeah, so that's not an inconsistency. What I was saying by that is the fact that when people are this is just appealing to a baseline principle when it comes to human relationships in general. If the two of us, we're friends at work, school, or wherever we have, if we were just, the two of us were friends, it would not be healthy for me to be utterly dependent upon you, right? We can lean on each other in different ways as it pertains to our interaction as two human beings, but it would not be healthy for me to be like financially dependent on you. Like, hey man, can I get some money? And I need some money. It's like that's not right. I should be able to stand on my own 2 feet. Because the thing is, when people, it's not to then suggest that you're some sort of boogeyman who's going to hurt me just because I would say I need to be able to stand on my own, because giving you that much power over my life is a precarious thing. So in the same way, this is not to suggest that there's some sort of inherent evil trait within black men that lends us to abuse of black women. But the fact of the matter is, we know that people in general, right? Any human being is capable of evil things. Any human being is capable of abuse, especially when they're conferred inordinate power. So when it comes to the idea that black women should have financial independence, that is first of all, I think that should just be even if black femicide wasn't a thing, I would think that female independence is a necessity. But the fact of the matter is, especially now, in the face of the issue of black femicide, which is more prevalent than, I guess you could say by the numbers, more prevalent than police killing of black people. We, especially now in the face of black femicide, all the more we should emphasize the fact that we need black female independence. The same way that in the face of systemic racism, we cry from rooftops that we need black independence, we need black autonomy. So it's just a matter of, it's not saying that everybody from this demographic is coming to kill us or coming to kill this other group. It's to say that when people have the ability to stand on their own, it changes the game. I'm sorry if my words are coming off a little distracted here, but that's what I was saying. It wasn't saying that black men are this boogeyman because and black women need to escape from them via financial independence. Financial independence is something that black women should have.
They don't have them like no one.
But especially now in the face of black femicide, it is all the more emphasized that black female independence, especially financially, should be a thing, because when it comes to relationships, especially marriages, there is an element of financial finances having some form of power.
Yeah. All right. We're going to move quickly now. I think Nayash is the last person because I actually do want to get to black femicide. And I think we can. Wait, I don't
they had it here.
I will. Nayash, go ahead. And tell me how to pronounce your name.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. My English is not so good, so I'm gonna try to pronounce myself properly. So my question was, I find it very interesting about Orange Pill News that black men are so invested in the image. This is what I find very interesting. That they are so focused on the image, they don't even care about the death that's happening in their own community. Because he is not the only one. There are a lot of black men.
Black, white, like.
Hello?
Too bad you got
black.
Okay, there's a lot of black men when we talk about black women death and violence. They always say, yeah, black men kill mostly black men. This is not true. Black women also hate black men. So there is this kind of deflection that I find very interesting. That
that brown is nice, but look
in
like
black
for a
men's brain, there is this blockage.
I think
don't
we
know
should
what
look at
it is.
brown one again.
Black women also abuse black boys. Black women also are horrible. Black women also are so and so. It's very interesting, and I wish maybe we can explore those belief systems that black men are incapable of looking themselves in the mirror. I find that very, very because Orange Pill is just a mirror of a lot of black men what they really think. He's just a mirror of a lot of men out there who think like him and really think that black men and black women are on the same level. I even hear black men with degrees even saying intersectionality don't exist. Black men and black women and black men are on the same level.
I got just out of 11.
I like that you in black men with degrees, because I think oftentimes there is a need to separate by pointing out the Pookies and Ray Rays, and in so doing we have this caricature of a black man that's bad, when it's very difficult, because when you have that caricature in your mind, it's easy to say black women just choose better because you see this man, you should not choose this man. But the reality is, like, even the people who are educated, I forgot the football player who went to a really good school, he was
Like the red
in
ones
the
too?
community, and then we saw him on camera throwing this woman into the TV in front of their child, right? Like at some point we have
What
to
else should I
reckon with,
pick on?
it's not that easy to quote unquote choose better, and this pushing it off to saying, oh, it's the Pookies and the Ray Rays, and we have a responsibility, I would believe, to address the malfeasance, right? In any case, I appreciate all of you.
You gonna have that and a black one?
Oh, someone said,
You don't see nothing else.
how can I donate to your chat? Oh, you don't have to. Your time is just enough. Just being here is enough. So I do appreciate that, Nyasha. Let me just say, this was not. If you believe this was an attempt to get Orange Pill
There is no half.
to understand.
That's why I haven't gotten
where we're coming from and what we're doing, it was not. I have come to the conclusion that I won't be able to do any of that anymore. I am talking because I think it is important that we put this out there in the public sphere.
You'll be all right.
I allowed
You just
him to
slip on.
listen to the women react to what he had to say, and hopefully he can learn something from that. If not, that was not my goal. So if he doesn't, that's fine. In any case, we are going to move on now to the Black women in luxury. I put these side by side. I didn't know this part of the discussion was going to happen, but I put this side by side because I think to ignore Audre Lorde's writing, right? To ignore some of the kind of feminist approach to the discussion, I don't think fully fleshes out the idea properly. And as some, this is why I'm also doing it. I was thinking about not doing it, but I'm going to. I promote Black women in luxury, right? in my social media, I promote it, I get criticized for it, and I've also written about why I thought it might not be good and also why I continue to do it, right? So I am not here to define for women how to engage in transforming their image, and it is transformative. The work can be transformative. So we are going to talk about this now, right? So there are a couple of things. I got a comment to have it in a panel discussion where my voice can be drowned out by women. I am going to do that. I am going to take the advice of people who I think are more closely related to the topic as opposed to an outsider talking about it, right? I'm still going to engage, but I will have hopefully a buffer of people. So if you guys don't want to talk about this and you're on the stage, you can leave, but I'm gonna sort of introduce some of it, and then we're going to watch for Harriet's video. And we're going to react to some of it. We're not going to watch the entire thing because it's a 30-minute video, depending on what you guys want to do, whatever. But I want us to talk about some of the things. We're not going to watch Chris's video, even though I outlined it, because I don't want to make it a versus kind of thing. So we're not going to put Chrissy against for Harriet in that way. We're only going to look at for Harriet's initial video, and we're going to talk. My views is that Black women in luxury is ultimately a good thing that I promote. I am willing to change my mind if it can be changed now, but your duty is not to change my mind. It is for us to have a discussion, even to the extent that we are talking about capitalism and how companies might and have infringed on this movement to make us spend more money, right? So let's do it. I'm going to play some part of her video. We're going to start. Again, preface, do not call people names, particularly for Harriet or Chrissy. I'm not going to play Chris's video, but I have tremendous respect for Kim. I have a lot of respect for her. I think she's an intellectual in the most amazing sense of the word. I watch her content. I'm subscribed. I do engage with her. I have fundamental disagreements with her, particularly when it comes to DV and how the police should be involved in that. But we're going to watch some, so please, please, please refrain from calling her name. I have too much respect for that. Moderators, anyone call her a name, just put them on timeout. I really don't care who it is. Anyone calls her a name, please put them on timeout. All right. While you see me, someone said I'm treating Orange Pill poorly on Instagram. All right, let's do this.
Hey y'all, how are you doing? I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. It's me, Kim, and I'm back for another video. Let's talk about Black women in luxury. If you're a Black woman on the internet, chances are you've seen images and videos of, quote, Black women in luxury. It's an idea, it's a slogan, it's a hashtag that's created dozens of social media accounts. There's literally thousands of posts under it. I've even seen people call it a movement. If you click, you'll see Black women decked out in designer clothes, unboxing expensive items, lounging in exotic locales, or eating at fancy restaurants, right? With the hashtag Black women in luxury, or Black women deserve luxury attention. And the luxury is extremely homogenous. It is the classic kind of luxury with all the baggage that term entails, right? So it's almost exclusively thin, feminine presenting, heavily made up women, or if they're bare-faced, they have perfect complexion, flawless skin, not a hair out of place. And these images are supposed to be decidedly aspirational. They're meant to show us what we could achieve if we just reject self-sacrifice and struggle up. And look, I'm not gonna lie, the stuff is fun to look at. I follow a couple of those accounts, right? So we always say representation matters. So of course, it's going to be enjoyable to see brown-skinned and dark-skinned women living the high life. But as much fun as it is, I do have some concerns about the way that we engage in this movement. So let's take a second to talk about where Black women in luxury stems from and where it falls flat. It's taken me a few months to work through my feelings on this.
All right, So this is the first section. Let me get the panel back together. So Black women in luxury as a concept on social media particularly is of concerns to people, but we're not going to discuss generally what this concept mean, even though we should. She's going to define it, and we are going to go with her definition. By the way, we're not starting the panel discussion yet. We're going to start it right after the very next thing that she says. So I just wanted to put that out there. I think also, I don't know why I put the panel back to the screen this way when I could have just kept it. I think that going forward, again, we're going to refrain from calling her names. We're going to refrain from making judgment about her, and we will stick to the concepts that she's talking about. I'm going to refrain from something right now. Appreciate the chat, Miss. Good back and forth. Ladies, my wife is Black. I care for Black women of the community. Understand from a Black man's standpoint that saying certain things, even if true, can still perceive a false narrative. Thank you for your donation. I feel like, please email. We can talk offline. Here's my email. I think we need to talk separately. I really do. Let's go back to Kim. Thank you for your super chat.
Discourse because one, I live a very self-indulgent life, and I don't want to be a hypocrite. And two, as I mentioned in the Lizzo video, things that are aesthetic for other communities are existential for ours. So I'm not really judging. We all deserve grace. I can't tell you don't want a Birkin bag without first excavating the source of that desire. And I won't even tell you don't want a Birkin bag. It's unrealistic and classist to chastise people for wanting signifiers of wealth in society that values people based on those signifiers. But hopefully, after this conversation, we, and I do mean we, because I really struggle with this, can reevaluate our relationship to the procurement and the performance of quote luxury. Because instead of leaning into the idea that Black women's lives are validated by our ability to access and display things that are intentionally unattainable, we have to acknowledge that these individual pursuits of superficial comfort will never amount to a mass movement to better the lives of all Black women. That's my primary beef with this whole thing. It's so individualistic. It's easier to stunt than to focus on creating the conditions that would better all of our lives. That takes collective struggle. And most of us just don't want to commit to it, or we feel like we can't commit to it. I know that there's going to be backlash to this. I know people do not want to have a critical conversation. They're going to call me a miserable, just enjoy it. It's not political. I get it. But it is political. It's very obviously political, you guys. That's why people are calling it a movement. That's why people are saying that these images are revolutionary, because we understand that our bodies, our beings, the way that we show up, is political. And hopefully this reevaluation can help us be kinder, gentler, less judgmental to ourselves and to each other. What a relief it can be to see that, like, living our best life doesn't have to look that way, that it can be as quiet or loud as we like. How do we get here? It's complicated. First, the Black women in luxury discourse is absolutely an outgrowth of the perversion of Audre Lorde's writing on self-care. She wrote, "Caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation." And that is an act of political warfare.
This is where the discussion starts. I am going to say, and we can start now, I'm going to say this. When you call someone's movement a perversion, when you do that, you are going to get a response that is not good. When you say, and this, by the way, Audre Lorde, I've read this many times, and she is discussing, and Kim goes on to explain this. She is discussing how it feels to be a Black lesbian woman in America struggling through cancer, right? And caring for herself. But when you say, you know definitively that the Black woman in luxury movement is born out of bastardizing, right, the work of Audre Lorde, people are going to have problems with that. Like, even if you quote her, no one has confirmed that this is where it comes from. It could be, but then you said it's essentially bastardizing. So there is going to be a negative reaction to a claim like that. All right, so let's start the discussion here. When we think about Black women in luxury, My conception is that it's not prescriptive, right? It is not saying this is what, no, not Kim. Kim does not have cancer. No. Audre Lorde, the writer she referenced, the feminist writer she referenced, did, and she was talking about caring for herself in that way, not Kim. I apologize if that wasn't clear, right? But when we think about Black women in luxury, it is, from everyone's explanation, a pushback against the media representation of Black women as being, let me just be brass and say, the Wakandan warrior, right? Now, can this have detrimental effects that needs to be discussed? Then I guess the answer could be yes here, right? But let's discuss that. All right. I don't know how to do this, so we're going to do it popcorn style. Just announce your name when you're ready to talk. Please understand, with people you disagree with, like you and Orange Pill, sometimes you have to just let people be themselves. A lesson I learned from being neutral is that you can divide person from belief. I can, yes, this is true, but I cannot be friends with someone or continue to engage with someone if I think that they are going to continue to be harmful, as what general matter. But all right, let's go. Let's start with, all right, let's go Africa pop, fitness. Let's do that. Fitness. You're on mute.
Oh, can you hear me? I'm sorry, my son is trying to chase me, so I'm trying to escape him. But okay. So I come from a very privileged background. I mean, both my parents made six figures. Uncle's a multi-millionaire. My friends currently make over 300,000. And I know people who are stay-at-home, and all these people are Black, that are stay-at-home wives, and that their husband's either a doctor or an engineer. So yes, I do believe that women should live in luxury, but unfortunately, for especially on Instagram, there is scamming going on. There are people who are committing fraud. There are people who are doing all types of things so that it can look like they have these things when they don't. And then you have other people viewing it and feeling less of themselves because I don't have these things, so I'm gonna get a credit card and I'm gonna put this purse that I may not be able to afford because I want to feel like I am with these people, which I understand. But I believe, to Kimberly's point, it's all capitalism, because only a small percentage of these people can actually, quote unquote, afford these items or have the means to get these items. So what does everyone else do? They either rob Peter to pay Paul, or do something to acquire quote unquote luxury. I just think that's dangerous.
So your objection, if I understand it, is that people will engage or endeavor to obtain luxury that they see, even though they cannot afford it. They can buy it, but they essentially cannot afford it. And they'll do things that they shouldn't do in order to get it.
Yeah, because only, especially for I can only speak for Black people. 9% of Black people make over 100,000 a year. Yeah. And then when it comes to 400,000, only about 2 to 1% of Black people make that amount. And that's not even speaking about, and the millionaires are less than 0.1%. So when you talk about luxury, it's only a small amount of people who can live these lifestyles. So it is aspirational, and I'm not saying don't get a cute bag or don't take vacations, but it leads to the sense of, well, I'm going to do anything that I can just to stun on the gram.
Right. So I feel like there is a conflation of sort of Instagram culture to flex and the kind of black woman in luxury, which I understand, but it seems like the prescription being made is to essentially sort of curb a movement in some ways. Let's call it a movement. People might take issue with that because it could potentially have a negative impact on people trying to obtain the images they see. Am I understanding you correctly?
Well, but the thing is, even before Instagram, black women have been living in luxury that have it. You know, I think, I don't know, I don't know. I believe YouTube and Instagram and all these other platforms have put a spotlight on things that may have not been seen in the past, but I think what this is doing now is having other people see like, oh, this is how they're living. Well, I want to live this way too. What can I do to live this way? Because black women have been living in luxury. Instagram didn't start black women living in luxury. The black women that have been living this way, been living this way. It's just that other people didn't know it. That were outside of those social circles.
All right. Leave Black Girl alone. Do you want to respond to that, or do you want to explain your position on black women in luxury before I go back to fitness?
Hi, can you hear me?
It's very low.
Is this better?
A little bit.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
But I would like to respond to that because I don't really like with Kim and with the lady that was just speaking. I don't understand why. I guess it has to be so black and white in terms of the definition of luxury, because I've heard someone else say that like the problem with black luxury is that basically we're lining white people's pockets and it's capitalistic. But if we define luxury for ourselves, like me personally, I mean, honestly, I don't even have the money for it, but I have really no interest in spending thousands and hundreds of tens of thousands of dollars on European designer brands. I mean, we could define luxury and say that we want to support black designers. Like, or luxury for black women could be buying really nice products, black-owned products to take care of our natural hair. Or luxury could be being a stay-at-home mom and wearing Lululemon and going to Starbucks. So it's like, well, I don't really think it necessarily has to be having a whole bunch of money and spending a whole bunch of money. I think that we should just define it for ourselves, and the movement can progress as we discuss these things.
But what do you think? I'm sorry.
Can we get into so the black woman in luxury seems to be sort of a PR move by black women to reclaim their womanhood in some ways, right? And when we talk about sort of soft activism that is persuasive without being confrontational, one of the arguments that is being made is that the black woman in luxury combats negative image about what black women should be doing and can be doing. So can someone react to that or push back against that?
Push back?
Either accept it or push back, but just
I absolutely accept it. To me, when I think of, I'm sorry, I'm Yogo, guys. Not think of black women in luxury as just an average, regular black chick. I just see it, and without really being emotionally invested in this at all, as far as myself in luxury, I just see it as a bunch of black women that, on average, going on Instagram, seeing these images, and being like, "Oh, how nice! I think maybe I'll inspire a little of that." I don't think your average black woman, when they see the hashtag is going around thinking, okay, I want to max out my credit cards, I want to run up these checks and just live these extravagant lifestyle. I kind of agree with I think it's Leave Black Women Alone, where while there are probably people, just like with anything, there are extremes. I think your average black woman looks at the hashtag and just think, oh, inspirational, almost like a fitness inspiration. You save an image and then you have it on your phone, and that's the body you quote unquote imagine. I think it's just an aesthetic. I think it's just, I don't think there's no activism behind it. I don't think there's no larger, like, while it might be corrective promotion. I don't think the collective of Black women who are looking at that are like seeing it as like, okay, this is going to go against the system and this is going to make Black women look a different way to a certain group of people. I just think it's just inspirational, and I do feel like this is blown up in a way that's very confusing to me. I don't get the pushback, and that's all I have to say for now. We'll see how this
I have something to say.
I mistakenly deleted a bunch of people's comment because my hand was resting on my phone. That was not intentional. Just an FYI. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Themis. Can I respond to what I think Yoga said real quickly? So I think what's insidious about social media, Instagram, Facebook, everything, I mean, it's a tool, but you can use it for good or for evil or neutral, whatever, is that there was I think it was a New York Post or the New Yorker article talking about the Instagram face. And since Instagram has been popular, more and more people have been getting plastic surgery and wanting their faces to look a certain way or to fine tune their faces to look like someone on Instagram. And so now,
this is the thing though, like I'm not debating, but it seems like it's very paternalistic, the approach to say the individual promoting or putting their life out there that is quote unquote luxury, a Black woman in luxury, shouldn't do so because it has a negative impact on.
No, I'm not saying they shouldn't do so. That's not my argument.
Yeah, well, but it seems very sort of paternalistic in the way that we would, and I'm not saying that it's good or bad, I'm just saying it seems paternalistic if we're going to sort of monitor people's engagement and willingness to sort of reclaim their understanding of the Black woman's image, right? If they're a Black woman. Because of the impact people consuming that media is going to have, right? As opposed to saying, if you're consuming this and you're aspiring to it, then you probably need a better job, you probably need to do money management and all that other stuff. Saying don't do it because it has a bad impact seems a bit odd to me.
Can I? There's like, sorry, but there is some like to like reform the Black women, or like Black image is something to be considered, because I put an article up there. It was talking about how a Black couple had their home was devalued because they were Black, and then they had to whitewash it in order to get the appraisal up back to the original amount for their house. So there is some consequences of being associated with lower economic stuff, but that's a social issue, a society issue, not necessarily a Black issue. I mean, it is a Black issue, but it's a structural issue as a whole. And so, like, it's I think what Christy and Harriet has is two definitions of luxury, and that's what is the argument, because I watched all of their sides, and I think that's the basic thing, is that they disagree on the definition of it and how to execute it. Because Harriet thinks of it more as a you can not work if you want to and stuff like that, and Chrissy does believe in that as well, but it's how they define it and how they go about it is different, if that makes sense.
Who do you side with, Z?
I'm not necessarily emotionally invested in it, so I don't side with either. I see both points and what they're valid in, and I disagree with both at the same time, if that makes sense.
I have something to say.
With that.
More time?
Go ahead.
Okay, so when I think of the definition for luxury and the movement, to me, I think of it as a definition of what it means luxury to you. And I think it's the young budding movement. So we're still seeing ideas and associations with this movement still brewing. It hasn't really had a time to really develop into something concrete that we understand. It's in its infancy. And I can see that this could be used for potential good. I can see that we could use this as a way to bolster Black economics and the possibilities of networking with each other. I network with other Black women who, you know, are trying to get into different areas where their income could increase. So I can see where that could be a benefit plus to us. And I don't want to just define it as it's just about aesthetics or correction. But I do think that both of these arguments are a little, you know, they're a little too early to be so concrete. I think that we're still defining what this movement is. And I think that if we were to give it a little bit more time and see these ideas come together, that we can have much more of a clearer idea. I think it is a little bit of both, but I don't think it's entirely just about correction and trying to, you know, basically live a lifestyle that you can't afford. I have seen people sharing and networking resources and how they afford these lifestyles, including tips on how they got into fields that pay much more money to afford such lifestyles. And like someone else said, like, luxury is basically defined by what you give it. Like, someone might think it's, you know, going to Starbucks, another might be thinking it's buying a Fendi bag. But I do think that we should concentrate on trying to get Black businesses into the sphere, because we don't get that opportunity, and use the movement to do that.
All right, I actually love this. So one of the really amazing, one of the, yeah, who was that?
It's me, Nyasha.
Go ahead. Yeah, wait, give me 2 seconds. One of the things Kim talked about that I thought was interesting was the fact of sort of, when we think about luxury, it has historically been to the exclusion, and because of the exclusion of Black people, right? The Tiffany diamond was brought up. And I thought that was a kind of interesting thing. Hopefully you guys we can talk about that, and I can hear your perspective later. But go ahead, Nyasha.
Yes, my issue with the whole luxury thing is I'm gonna forget the spirituality part of it. I mean, we have been so much, because womanhood has nothing to do if we have a Gucci bag or not. I think womanhood is something much deeper than money. And I'm just hoping by all our conversation about luxury, we don't get about the spirit of the human being. That, I think, is what womanhood should be about. When I go into the graveyard, I cannot take my Gucci bag or money with me. We need to go back to learn to be a human again. That, I think, should be the conversation about lesser. If I have them, I'm not saying money isn't important, but that should not be the center of all our lives, because I see Black women and Black men being so materialistic, because this world we are living in is so materialistic. It sucks the air out of people. I need to go to work full-time job to get this. I need to do this and this, and we forget the important things in life. What is really important in life? That is not luxury and money.
Sorry.
Wait, before we do that, I actually wanted to echo something and then underscore it. I hopefully we don't judge your humanness generally, and we don't stop doing that. I mean, I guess we have in the capitalistic world. Capitalism, by the way, I don't see as a negative thing. But in the world that we live, it seems the more you accumulate, the more of the more human you're treated, right? And what does that mean? But also when we think about corrective promotion, right, there is a kind of two sides to the issue, right? The first being, when we think about Black women being dehumanized historically and being excluded, we can think about it as, how do we fight back a system, right? Or fight against the system, which I think would be for Harriet's approach. And then another approach would be, okay, we're in the system, even if we're going to fight against a white supremacist system for our right to exist and be treated as human, how do we still be comfortable and live good lives in the system, not just for us, but for our children and the people who engage? Or should we even want to live comfortably in that system? Does every day need to be a fight against a system that is deeply problematic in people's mind? Anyone can take that.
My thing is these. Go ahead, whoever was speaking. I'm trying to understand. There's a lag. I apologize.
Oh, that's all right. It's part of the process of doing this online. Okay. Let me gather my thoughts back together. To talk about the human piece. To me, this debate is. It goes back to what I said about our field statement. Since Black women have no master or mistress, it's not necessary for us to take a hard position about whether Chrissy is correct or Kim is correct. It's not necessary to do that. We have no master. We are free human beings. Meaning that not only will we define luxury and our access to it differently, we are free to do that. And we are free to define this in a way that we live in a capitalist system unless you want to move. This is what you're going to live with. We have, for example, for me, I mentioned earlier, I interact with about 625 people. That's just day to day, week to week, year to year. For me to have time to be on the show for 3 hours and not answer the phone and not be concerned with anybody else's things is a luxury. It doesn't have anything to do with money in hand or anything I'm wearing. I'm home and I'm comfortable. But it has to do with how I choose to allocate my time. And I do not have to allocate this time to be making money to survive. And that goes to the piece about luxury that Kim was referring to. Part about corrective promotion is correcting the idea that Black women are just mules and slaves and should never have time to take time to be part of even engaging discussions. Because after all, I'm not supposed to be able to read well enough to know that we are free human beings and have been by law for a very long time. So we don't have to take a hard position. Nobody made Chrissy or Kim our mistresses. We can take different positions about this without having to freeze into a mold. There are pieces of what both of them are saying, but it's just like, ladies, who left you in charge? You don't get to have the last word. And as one of the, I think it was Lord Time said, this is very early. So the whole idea that we're going to freeze into a mold. One more thing. Just because someone else does not know how to use a tool correctly does not mean I can't have it. I recognize, and I think it was Afro Pimpton who said it, that there are people who are consuming this luxury mindset and are absolutely losing their ever to loving minds. We recognize that. However, someone else's irresponsibility has nothing to do with my freedom. There is a lot to be said for getting your mindset right, getting your money right. There is a shop that has a necklace that I have been waiting to buy for 5 years. I don't even know where I would wear it at this point. And I'm actually not going to buy it from her because she was disrespectful when I expressed my interest in it. So I'll find it somewhere else. But when I have it so I can get it where I want it, guess who's going to get that necklace? Because I've done this in a way that is respectful. Now, does this take away from what I do in the rest of the community? I mentioned that there are 625 people that have a right to call me with their issues every day of my entire life. No, but 625 is the limit. I cannot be responsible as one human being who is free but limited. I'm human. I can't be responsible for what 47 million people are doing. But if I have done the service that I can do to the people around me, then if there is excess time and excess money, then at least I should have the luxury to come and be with all these highly intelligent people I'm talking to today. And that's the start. And if I go buy that necklace, I might just wear it up here because I can. And if somebody comes out and loses their mind on Instagram, that's their problem. They're free to mess their life up, and I'm free to have that necklace because we're humans. But I don't need to have any of it because my worth does not depend. This shirt is 10 years old. I wear it as proudly as I wear that necklace. Because I have the freedom, which is a luxury, to do that as a Black woman in America.
Period.
I have a question, Themis.
Wait, before you go, ultimately, it's how luxury looks for you. I get mani pedis twice a month, massage once a month, and shoot my guns every Sunday. 2 major vacations a year in which I kayak or be still. My sister shops. Everyone is different. Thank you, Nia Fox, for your super chat, and I'm with you on that. I love healthy dialogue like this. Subscribe. Welcome. All right, go ahead. Let me read this one and then you go ahead, Afro. Black women can't have fun without first writing
A word, a freaking word.
Someone just sound like Paris Milan. Black women can't have fun without first writing a 10-page thesis breaking down why we want to have fun. Then hopefully it gets approved. I'm not playing with you, Joanne. I'm not playing with you. Go ahead.
Speak after her. That's okay.
You can. I think it's Afro than you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So because my sister showed me the hashtags of, I guess, Black Girls in Luxury, I just wanted to understand what they're promoting is trips, unveiling, like super expensive, luxurious lifestyle. Is that correct? Because I hear people saying, well, for me, it's something different, but that's not what the hashtag is showing. So I just want to understand that, are we speaking about what is what's being the movement at the time, or are we just speaking of what we think luxury means to us?
Well, someone, I think it was Laura Time, sorry, who explained that we are in the infancy of what Black women in luxury is supposed to be, right? And so there is still a lot of defining and redefining going on, right? There is inclusion and sort of exclusion to some degree, but I do think fundamentally luxury is in some ways excess, but it also depends on what the individual perceives to be their kind of excess, right? So the Black woman in luxury, I don't think is prescriptive ultimately. It's not saying this is what luxury is and you need to engage in this way to be a Black woman in luxury. But it is saying Black women can and should be included in the luxury conversation. At least from my perspective, this is why I sort of, but when I see a Black woman, quote unquote, in luxury, I don't care if they use the hashtag or not. I repost whenever I have a smile on my face, right? Like if I look at the picture and I'm like, she looks like she is living and she's enjoying life. This is a beautiful thing. Repost, but like,
I see the vacations and the yachts and the boats. I'm like, okay, girl, but that's what I'm like. I'm not seeing what other people are seeing in terms of like Manny Pennies. No, I'm seeing like Dubai and the bags and you know, the unveiling of the bag. So I'm just trying to. I haven't seen what other people have mentioned in terms of the hashtag and what is getting likes and what's being most popularly shared on Instagram. So I just wanted to understand. You said it's now I kind of get it. Is it?
I don't think we're. I'm doing it. Sorry, y'all. Ooh,
you're fine.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead, Hugo. You got permission.
I was just gonna say, but that's their choice, though. It's like Kim just said, what is luxury? If people want to flaunt on the gram, that is their prerogative. And my thing is, it's not up to other people to police what people do. As far as like, oh, if I post this is going to mold the mind of such and such. People are going to do what they're going to do. People have to police their own selves about what harms them and whatnot. And in this case, with the luxury movement, if Black women want to post some pictures of them in Dubai, want to post themselves in a fancy coat, want to post themselves in jewelry, blah, 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 I can go down the tangent. But the point is, I just don't understand the push. This is, I'm confused, and I might not have the range for this panel if I'm honest, because a lot of this for me is just odd that there's so much pushback. To me, this is just Black women doing what they want to do, and that's just kind of what a lot of these. It's not. I even hate to use the word movement. It's just Black women being in certain elements that hasn't been promoted for Black women for so long. Like we're not even in these conversations in any way normally. And like these past few years, it's just what's been such a huge change as far as Black women and what we do. We've only had really one look to the world as far as, and when I say look, I don't mean like literally the look. I'm talking about like as far as what we do. I think someone mentioned earlier about how Black women are kind of seen as just these warriors, basically. You know what? Maybe I'm gonna go on mute because I'm trying to learn how to do these panels as far as like collecting my thoughts, having particularly to say and all that. So yeah.
But to your point, yeah, Black women have been living in luxury. It has not been represented in media spaces at large. I get what you're saying.
Right. But that's what I'm saying though. It's okay.
Wait, before we do this, let me I've seen a comment, and I was going to get to this towards the end, but like we're here, so let me ask it now. It seems that the question about affordability, right, well, not affordability, but whether or not Black women specifically can afford to be, quote unquote, in luxury is not necessarily a question of price and economics, but it's a moral judgment.
The problem is, and I'll say this briefly because I do have a 6 o'clock appointment, so I'm gonna get up out y'all way. The problem is, if you're not providing for me, what I have in my pocket is none of your business. I don't care whether the person asking the question is a man or a woman, Black, white, yellow, or brown. It's just like, if I'm a free person, there's an old phrase, what a man does, he pays for it. That goes for women too. The point is, so somebody has a moral judgment. So what? I already said slavery's been over since June 19th, 1865. I respect Kim and for Harriet. She does great work. But again, if you're not providing for me, I'm gonna buy like that song said, I'm a woman way past 21. If I earn that money, I'll buy whatever I want or not buy whatever I want because I may choose to spend that on needs in the community if I want to. And if I'm like, I've spent all the money that I can on y'all today, and I'm gonna go do something for myself, and you didn't give me any of that money. People can have whatever moral judgments. People can talk about Black women's affordability. The manosphere loves to talk about how so many of us are zero net worth, and I'm like, you need to shut your mouth. Don't make me watch your pockets. Y'all American Black men don't go there. Well, then also we have to be honest with each other. I don't want to hear anybody talking about affordability who's not in much different position than me. I don't need to hear from somebody above me. I don't need to hear from somebody. You have to get to the habit of being. If you don't own me, you ain't paying any of my bills. Then your moral judgment can go take a long walk off a short pier and let's move on. As Bernie Mac said it so well. Let's move on. Okay, I gotta move on. But if this is still going on, I'll be back because this is a needed discussion. We as Black women have to get out of each other's pockets to because this is so enough. It's just ridiculous to me. I can't understand how we, as free women, can be so worried about how other people are spending their money, and we may or may not know how to get our own money together. We worried about what some other woman can afford. How about no? All right, let me shut up.
No, wait you go. My group chat is lit. Like everyone is like, please, because I'm gonna buy my Gucci bag next week.
I mean, I'm not saying be financially irresponsible, because you are. But again, whatever you do, you're gonna pay for. Whatever you do, you're gonna pay for. If you do something irresponsible, but here's the flip side of this: is if you do something irresponsible, guess what? When you get to be 75, 80, and you don't have your life together, whatever you do, you're gonna pay for it. But see, this is the thing: if you are free to mess your life up. But you don't want to do that. But the idea is, no other human being has the right to come along who's an adult with you and say, well, you shouldn't be able to do that because black women affordability, blah, blah, blah. No, because as human beings, we do have free will. It's not even a question of should you do it. The question is, do you have the right to impose that on me? Now again, don't get it twisted. If people max out their credit cards, getting Gucci, and we have another financial collapse, whatever you do, you pay for it. Period. Does not matter good or bad. But this idea that other people are gonna be policing grown folk, I'm not understanding where this concept comes from. Are we not free? I mean, we do this every February. Somebody help me understand. What is this? I don't get it, Divas. If nobody's paying my bills, then nobody has to worry about my affordability. If I want to put a ring on all 10 fingers, y'all, and max out every credit card I have, I would defy any one of you to say anything about me that has not put your money in.
The lawyers are acting up in this group chat. They are living. They're living for you. They're like, period. Someone.
Maybe it's just me, but anyway,
I did not go to law school and work all this time for someone to tell me that I can't go on that trip or buy that bag. Absolutely not. I am with Deanne. You don't tell me what to do, period. And literally everyone's like, period. We ain't doing this. We waste time 2020.
Y'all crazy. I'm not looking at chats. I don't see that. But like I said, remember now, though, you do get to do what you want, but you can pay for it. Whatever you do, you pay for it. So you do have to be, for your own sake, not anybody else's, a responsible person. If you spend your 20s and 30s and 40s in the life and you forget that in your 40s, your 50s, and your 60s and your 70s, you're going to have difficulty. Whatever you do, you pay for. I'm not saying people shouldn't be responsible, but you do that for yourself as a free person. The responsibility of being free is you get to choose what you want to do, and you deal with the consequences of what you want to do.
Amen.
That's how
We're not finished.
Whatever you do, you pay for. So you just choose how you want to do it. But
to the lady who was asking the question, I think we're all looking at the same images, but I just don't think that most Black women are taking it that literally to say like, oh, now I need 10 Birkin bags, or now I need to spend like $1 million to be happy. I would like to believe that most Black women aren't thinking that, but also I want to add that I feel like luxury, there's a certain kind of luxury that has been popular and normalized in the Black community for a really long time. And that's like the hood rich or the hood lux like aesthetic. And you know, we all know what that looks like long weaves and super long nails with the gems and stuff on it, and like designer brands and cars and things like that. Especially it goes a lot into the hip hop aesthetic and stuff. And so I feel like that's normalized and we accept that, even though I think that is more so like the negative side of it, the frivolous spending. And like, even if you go to the hood, everyone has, you know, the top sneakers on, everyone has inches and bundles and things like that. And so it's like, we accept luxury in that regard. But I think honestly, I'm starting to think that maybe it's because like Black women in luxury, it is associated with whiteness. That's when people are having a problem with it. But that's why I agree with all the people who are saying it just depends on how you define luxury.
No,
for
they won't give me
yourself.
shishi.
Use
They bums.
the photos for inspiration and define it for yourself and work on that.
I have a question.
Tell me what you think about me. Go ahead.
My
Love
question is, why is class and luxury exclusively white? Why do we have to discuss the idea of luxury and Black women and not acting like we can't be responsible whole adults? I think that my idea of luxury, and I'm just gonna be honest, my idea of luxury for us as a community is to bring back the Black businesses, to flip the dollar, to take these brands that we create and make them, you know, the household names. You know what I'm saying? That's what I think of Black luxury, and it can get there. But like I said, this movement is in its infancy. I've seen Black luxury where people were talking about, you know, affirmations, yoga. Luxury is subjective. People are subjective. So when we just sit there and we claim to say that women who are going on the gram, I think we're only seeing a small image of that. We're only seeing a small image because, like someone said, it's based off likes. Marketing is everything. You know, America in itself is a marketing capital. And so, of course, we're going to see the women going on extravagant trips. We're going to see women buying bags. And if they can afford that, that's okay. But that's not what we should be talking about. What we should be talking about is how we can use something like this to build a strong economic base, because let's face it, we live in a capitalist society. Unless we're going to be, you know, fighting to change that system, that's the system that we live in right now. And if we could work together, build strong networks, bring people into more higher incomes and do stuff like that, I think that even having this conversation just only further shows that the image of Black women and being able to have their wallets policed is kind of insulting. I think that if we can go into debt to get that college degree and get all of those, you know, accolades, and we get into these jobs and we're making this money, I think we can have some luxury. And I also think we can flip that around and also use that to our advantage. So I don't want to see luxury and not be thinking that it's something that we can't acquire without having to think about if that's going to affect us as a community.
Thank you. I wonder why Themis never acknowledged my comments. I don't purposely hide any comments. I actually put comments up that are like dragging or antithetical to what I'm doing. So I'm doing a million things, so I apologize. But I agree with you. Well, how do you say your name? Lori time?
It's Lori time.
Lori time. Got it. Mm-hmm. Thank you. A reaction to her before we move on.
Famous to the
my degrees hopefully aren't the reason people believe what I say or trust me to speak, but the fact that they heard me speaking and decide, oh, this person seems to know what he's talking about, or I like the way he laughed, or whatever. Like, I hope that, and I'm not going to ignore the fact that having a degree gets you in the room, right? But I do hope that we judge people for what they produce and how they interact rather than their accolades. Because I promise you, I know a ton of dumb people who graduated from law school. Like, I know a ton of them. So I just wanted to put that out there. Sorry. All right. Reese has not spoke and Bree has not spoke. Let's do Bree and then Reese.
Hi guys, can y'all hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Alrighty. So I do like this conversation. It's the first time I've been up on a panel too, but this is one that I really want to jump in. Thank you.
Understanding of the world onto other people in the way that they try to enjoy the world.
Over and over again. Because I know what it's like to not have things that I need or that I want.
Savannah's live. Okay, I check her.
No. I actually have to ask you this because
Go ahead.
I am. I don't think we are on the same page necessarily now, because I don't see capitalism as well. Capitalism has necessary evils, I think. But
unfortunately, it does. Yeah.
The alternative is what?
Well, I don't know. It could possibly be social.
The other one's a little bit dry and shit. This one, the wedding cake good normally, but a little bit crunchy. Oh, that crunch. Yeah, you know? Which one's not good? This one? Yeah, that one's good. This one tastes good. Which one you think tastes better? Okay. How much is that?
I can't. No, I know, but I can't find Shishi, but I found Savannah. But they got all this music. Oh my God, they be killing me.
I can't get this. I really want her. $50. Girl, this $50. This one bitch had me on my back. Whatever's her, that hoe had me on my back.
Nope. Now I find them.
Right on.
Okay, I got it. It's turned off until period. Okay, it's turned off until tomorrow, and I can turn it back on. Cause my admins like to do little fan lotteries in my room. But I ain't down with that die stuff and all that. That's not cool at all. Yeah, that's morbid. Weird. Bitch, my admin must be asleep, baby. Get the hell out of my room. You have a nice day. And
you know when you don't have an account, they don't show you all the good stuff. But I found Savannah and I found him.
Man, because I turned off the lottery.
Oh, somebody said I'm dead. Well, I guess I'm a snitch. I was like, bitch, you could turn it off. Get over it. You'll be fine. Nobody's gonna be a little $2-3.
Maya, what's up? Kelly Shay, what's up?
Oh Lord, y'all killing me with the music.
Oh girl, all the past coming to see me today. They must love me still. Hey, Maya Boo.
Maya
good
Boo.
morning, afternoon, good night. You know all that good
evening.
Stuff. No, let them live, child. Let them live. If they want to watch me, they can watch me, baby. I ain't never cared about somebody coming to my room. As long as they on cool vibes, I'm on cool vibes. When they get out of pocket, I'm gonna get out of pocket. That's how I let them live,
Scream my name.
Where Boss Lady go? Oh my God, I don't believe I'm listening to this. Yeah. Pico and his goddamn copyrights is crazy. It's more music. Jesus. Music on top of music. They took Shishi from me, bastards. She usually at the top. They took my girl. Nope. Nope. I can't find nothing. Charlie Live now. I tried to find Charlie before. Pew. All right, I got Layla, Miss Pretty Minnie, Unbothered, Baddie Ladies. Oh, I always get Drip Dynasty, TK Capone, Sarah. No, they're not giving me the good people because they want to. They must not be doing good. They promote the people that bring them the money, honey. Nope. Boss lady, she back? Is she back? Why don't we get up off of here? And I guess we'll be finishing up tomorrow. They're not letting me get the good people no more, so I see you guys tomorrow. Thank you, my ride or dies. See you mañana and all that good stuff. All right, guys, I'm out of here.